you go through algebra, you're going to see complex numbers coming up a lot. So let's talk about how to do some operations with complex numbers. First couple examples I have are going to be just adding and subtracting complex numbers, and then we'll do some multiplying. So when you're adding and subtracting complex numbers, you pretty much treat your I a lot like you would just an X. And we treat our operations in the same way you would if it were a normal polynomial. So looking at my parentheses in this first example, I see that there's no coefficient here in the front, there's no exponent here on the outside, so those parentheses aren't doing anything. My plus here tells me that I don't need to worry about distributing anything, and again, there's no exponents on the end of that second complex number either. So those parentheses can pretty much just be ignored. So I'm going to rewrite the expression without them. And then just like you would a polynomial, you combine those like terms. I'll start with my real component, so the 3 and the 5. And then the imaginary components, which are the pieces with the i's. I have 2 i's and I'm taking away 7 i's, so I end up with negative 5 i's. So when I add, I get 8 minus 5i, and that is question 1. Now question 2, that first complex number has nothing in front of the parentheses that I need to distribute. It has no exponent that I need to worry about. So the parentheses there are not necessary. But for that second complex number, I have a negative in front of my parentheses. If it's a positive, I don't have to worry about it. But if it's a negative, it's saying that we need to subtract everything in the parentheses. So basically, I need to take that negative and distribute it to both things in the parentheses. So I would get a negative 9 and a positive 6i. And now I can go ahead and combine my like terms. Starting with the real component, I get negative 1, and then the imaginary components, I get positive 3i. So my new complex number is negative 1 plus 3i. Okay, so let's talk about multiplying. Here's a couple examples with multiplying. Again, we're going to treat it just like we were multiplying two binomials together, but in this case, when we end up with I to some power, we're going to have to simplify it. But otherwise, we're pretty much just going to treat it the same as you would two normal binomials. So I will start by distributing everything in the first parentheses to everything in the second parentheses. My 4 goes to the 2 and to the negative 5, giving me 8 minus 20i. And then I move on to my negative 3, and it goes to the 2 and the negative 5, giving me negative 6i plus 15i squared. And I combine like terms. And remember that I squared is equal to negative 1. Whenever you're working with complex numbers, your answer should never have an exponent on I. You should be able to simplify it all the way down to just I. So the fact that there's a power of 2 on my I tells me that I need to fix it. So I use this definition of I squared being negative 1, and I just replace my I squared with that. So I'm multiplying my 15 by negative 1, which then becomes negative 15, and I can combine it with my 8. So 8 minus 15 is negative 7 minus 26i. And that is the simplified form of question 1. Question 2, I'll do the same thing. I'll start by distributing everything in the first parentheses to everything in the second parentheses. In that second one, again, I used the fact that I squared is negative 1, substituted in, and I was able to combine like terms with my negative 49 to get negative 50. So those are some examples of a couple operations with complex numbers. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.